Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
The Olympics is the peak of human achievement, and it can really push people to the brink. And guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean that you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals for this audio-only experience, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of people and we pick their brain about current projects to the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and a conversational fashion. You know, if you like how we do things, I'm going to assume that you do because you listen, you can hear me. Please keep listening and subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere at places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel, so you can give us a like and subscribe there as well. We would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Zoom, the Threads, Instagram. I'm losing track. There's so many. I even said Zoom was one. That's not right. But find us at social media at In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for our latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? We love to watch it and write about it and talk about it. We love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us that ultimate kindness. Come on by and pay us a visit. We just finished up the Winter Olympics, and it's fitting because we've got a documentary that just debuted on Peacock with our friends down south, which is it's a gripper. It's an important one. It's called Threshold, and it takes us into the world of cross-country skiing. And it's from filmmakers Lars and Torsten Brinkema, a pair of brothers duo. They just this is their first film, and it's the story of it's probably the most decorated American cross-country skier ever, Jessie Diggins, and the struggle behind her smile, this painful fight she's been fighting with body image and eating disorder right while she's at the peak of her career. And this is much more than a documentary, than that's just a sports story. It really gets into sort of her vulnerability and sort of dealing with the stigma and her at her lowest. And we see it all unfold in real time during the course of a season, thanks to the access that this duo of fantastic filmmakers got. This is really this is a next level sports doc. I mean, it's not just sort of a standard thing. It really gets us into the psychology of what it takes to push yourselves to the brink, almost to death, quite frankly, to achieve these great heights that these athletes do. But we had the chance to talk with Lars and Torsten while they were in Italy for the Olympics, which just finished this past weekend. Canada lost in hockey. That sucks, but congrats to the American team. Otherwise, fire up Peacock when you're down in the state, if you're in the States, and watch Threshold to see this story about Jessie, because again, it made me appreciate not only the sport of cross country skiing, but just the dedication and the drive that so many of these athletes put into being the absolute best they can be. Almost a little too much, really, but it's a stunning watch, and I enjoyed it, and hope you do too. Especially enjoy our talk with Lars and Torsten, because it's a pretty darn good one. All right, Lars, Torsten. I mean, guys, thank you for the time, man. I really appreciate this, and I mean, congrats on the film. I watched it last night. I was blown away.
Oh,
Oh,
awesome.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Now, I mean, I guess the first question is like, what made you want to sort of get embedded with and sort of tell Jesse's story? Because I mean, the way you guys set this up, it would have been different. It would have been like, okay, I had a problem, I overcame it, now I've come back to it, and I'm great. That's sort of your typical sports doc. This is the ups and the downs, the struggles, the highs and the lows, which makes it so much more visceral.
Mm. Yeah, well, Lars and I were born and raised in Minnesota. We like to say with skis on our feet. We have Norwegian heritage, and so our family kind of brought their skis to the Midwest with them. And we looked up to Jessie when we were skiers in Minnesota. And so fast forward a lot of years, I competed in Colby College racing against some of the guys that are on the US ski team. And they invited us, they knew we were filmmakers. They invited us to one of their spring training camps in Bend, Oregon. And that was back in March 2023. So we showed up, and Lars and I had been looking for an opportunity to, make a feature film. We had been doing commercials, ads, stuff that didn't really feel like it was challenging us as filmmakers. And it also wasn't really paying the bills. So we
Well,
kind of figured, if we're going to really do this, we got to make a name for ourselves. And, why not do it in this sport that we grew up doing and that we love so much? And yeah, I'd say the rest is kind of history. We met Jessie at that camp and developed a really deep bond with her. And then she opened up to us about her struggles. And we kind of realized, wow, this is the story that we need to follow.
I mean that dives into the next question. Like, was she a hard sell? Was she willing and on board to sort of go through the highs and the lows? Because, like I said, this is not your standard sports documentary. This could have very easily been sort of a light and fluffy other kind
Mhm.
of story.
Yeah, I think in that first training camp, we were on skis with cameras and kind of stayed out of the way, didn't ask for extra shots or anything. And I think we got a little bit of trust from Jessie just in those first weeks. But yeah, over the summer we did about 50 days of shooting with all the whole team all around the country. And I think over that summer we gained her trust more and more and more. And yeah, in the middle of the summer she shared her story and said this is something that she wants to tell through our film, and we were extremely grateful to be able to use her voice and create such an incredible film out of it.
Well, obviously, yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, the idea of, body image and anorexia and people having struggles with that, that's one thing on its own. But just sort of seeing her train and seeing this idea that this this push towards being sort of the most elite skier, the most elite athlete that she possibly could, is an addiction in and of itself, and it was killing
Mhm.
her. I mean, how big was that? How important was it to sort of give that kind of insight, to really understand sort of the mindset of an athlete at this level who, I can imagine she's not the only one, but I'm sure there's plenty of them who would walk themselves as close to death as humanly possible if it could to get that extra tenth or hundredth of a second, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're in Italy actually at the Olympics right now. And I think that's evident in like all of these athletes is they're all pushing their bodies to the brink. And, sometimes it ends in a gold medal, and that's
Right.
amazing. And other times you can push too hard and you can, fall off and do damage to your body. But there's so high expectations at this level of elite competition, and especially in endurance sports where your body is this engine that keeps you going. They try to find seconds wherever they can, and sometimes it manifests itself in these really scary illnesses. And so I
Mhm.
think we just felt like, wow, we are witness to the behind the scenes of someone who is really at the top of her sport, but also struggling so much. And so we just felt like, wow, this is such an incredible story. And the fact that she's being so vulnerable with us and letting us into the room for these moments, we felt like we were witnessing something very special. And we also, I think, took with that, like, we got to do this story justice. We got to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you guys get any sense on, I guess, sort of, I guess, the structure on how these sports are set up in terms of, what is deemed success and what is not? Like, I mean, as an outsider looking in, obviously there's the gold, silver, bronze, but
Mhm.
as a non-athlete, I'm like, oh, you came in fourth at the Olympics? That's fucking awesome. But I'm sure to
Yeah.
these people, it's like it's almost a life or death situation. Like, did you get any insight on just sort of the stakes of what it means to be podium versus kind of not podium?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean it's such an interesting story, especially for the US team. This sport has been dominated by Norway, Sweden,
Yeah.
Finland that have millions and millions of dollars backing their sport. And the US comes in and with very little funding, we recently just got like a truck that they're able to fix up the skis and all of that. But a lot of these athletes are paying to be on the road. They're
Yeah,
not government funded. And so wherever you place does determine how successful or if you can stay on the road. So there is this like limit where you need to keep producing top tens or podiums to continue racing and doing what you love.
for sure, for sure. How did sort of being involved in this and shooting all this test you guys as skiers? I can imagine it was a bit of a workout, just having to sort of stay upright with the camera, but also to, especially in some of the more action shots, to if you're on skis or if you're not. I mean, there's a lot of fast moving action going on. I can imagine it tested your abilities to the nth degree as well.
Definitely tested our abilities. We were actually just joking the other day. We went for a ski up here in Italy, and we're so much more out of shape than we were during that season because we'd wake up every day, we'd build the cameras, we would put our hand warmers in our pockets, and we'd go strap on the skis and get shots. We'd film pretty much everything just because a little bit of being naive as, first time feature filmmakers, not necessarily knowing what we needed to shoot and what we could have left out. So we shot everything. And I think, yeah, just pushing with, without poles, with cameras in hand, trying to keep up with the world's best skiers was crazy. And honestly, we could only really do it for very brief moments. And so you see some of those shots where we're flying down the hill with Jessie or one of the other athletes. We probably did like 100 of those shots and maybe 5 of them turned out, but those 5 that turned out are in the film. And so we had to put in the work to get those 5.
Love it, love it. Now, I mean, during this whole process, I'm curious, when did suddenly the light bulb go off for you guys to know that you had Jesse's trust and Jesse's team's trust? Because again, like I said, this could have been a very surface, very different documentary, but in the way that we sort of see the struggles with her mental health and her physical health and just sort of that inner turmoil. Like this isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, I had a problem and I fixed it. It's like, no, this is going to be a problem she's going to have to work with on for for the rest of her life.
Mhm.
And admitting that is not always easy.
Yeah, I think I mean early on in the summer it was a very important moment to sit down with Jesse and talk about the incident, the relapse that happened in the summer. And we knew this was part of the story we wanted to tell. Jesse had written a book about her high school struggles with an eating disorder. So we were attuned to her story and definitely wanted that to be a piece of the film. But I'd say in the season when things started to go south and there was the conflict with the coaches and the doctors and the family, I think was really when we felt like this was a full picture story of an eating disorder. And I think from there on out, and when we got to talk to her family about her high school struggles and really dig deep into that story, I think once we got all these different perspectives, I think that's when we realized it was such an important story to tell and
Oh, for
such a
sure, for sure.
multi-dimensional story.
Now, I mean, I'm curious because the sports documentary industry is almost with a cottage industry in and of itself. I mean, we see all the ESPN 30 for 30s
Mhm.
and all that other stuff. I can imagine it would be easy to sort of be distracted or be influenced by that kind of thing. But in watching it, it felt like you guys really were sort of had your blinders on and were very sort of focused on the moments that you were trying to share. How did you guys manage to sort of, I guess, keep the external influences away, especially as first time filmmakers?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly we were inspired to make this from things like Drive to Survive and all these the sports doc bubble that was growing so big. And so we just felt like there was an opportunity there because of all these stories. But I
Right.
think we knew from the start that we wanted to do it our way. And I think we had this sort of false sense of confidence that like we can get the shots and we can make a film that feels uniquely ours because this is a sport that like nobody films. And I think we had that going for us. Just the fact that cross country skiing it doesn't really have a feature film out in the world. And so that was such an opportunity for us to, do this documentary and try to bring our sport to this new stage. But yeah, I do think that we picked and chose our influences. I would shout out Werner Herzog's The Great Ecstasy of Woodcarver Steiner.
Love it. All right.
Incredible film. One of Herzog's first films where he was actually traveling on the road with this ski jumper. And it's, you know, in a way about pushing boundaries in skiing and what that could do for you and your life, but also the dangers that it poses. And so we kind of felt like, oh, wow, if Herzog got his start, like traveling around Europe, filming skiing, like we should do the same.
I love it. We got a Herzog reference in talking about a sports documentary. Man, this interview is already a win for me. But just to start putting a bow on this, I'm curious because it really does. You're at the Olympics now, and I mean, it does feel like sort of these teams and this sort of the community of these sports is very tight knit. Like, have you guys been sort of de facto adopted by the team, or are you just the weirdo filmmakers that have to stay on the outside, or like what's the sort of the coexistence there?
Yeah, we're definitely adopted by the team. It's such an incredible group, from the coaches to the chefs and the athletes. And even like early on in filming, we interviewed Norwegian skiers and Italian skiers and French skiers. So coming to these events after being done with filming is such a fun party, because we get to see all these people that we spent over 6 months with.
Love it, love it. No, but I mean, guys, just ultimately in watching this, I got such a unique perspective on not just her insight and sort of her sort of mental state and the stuff she's had to go through, but in watching the sport and the way you guys shot it, I was like, I never quite understood how physically brutal it is, especially sort of that timed race where they're all going against the clock. I was like, oh my God, they're all heaving themselves forward with every lunge, man. This is an intense thing to watch, and I couldn't look away. But I mean, I can't wait for more people to see this film. And I think you guys did a great job, man. I think you got a great future ahead of you. But just again, thanks for the work and thank you so much for the time today.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you so much,
you.
David.
You're
Appreciate
very
it.
welcome.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.